but we have a really exciting event here today. And I know that some of you were registered for the completely virtual session, which we're doing here. And some of you were registered for the in-person event, but because of the snow, we're all virtual, which is something we're all a little too familiar with. But at the same time, I know at the university, we've adapted really well to be able to bring you some quality content and being able to get you a lot of information today. So with that being said, my name is Kyle Schwindler. I'm one of the admissions counselors, the Associate Director of Admissions right in our admissions office. And I'm here today to really kind of kickstart this business open house. And there is a lot going on over in the business office today. We have faculty members from all different areas of business. We have current business students from all different majors. So as you're sitting through here today, we're going to be able to kind of tap into every different area of business for you and get you a kind of inside look, but also giving you a ton of information. I know that a majority of you are seniors and have already applied. So that is awesome and that's great to see. And I know that you're probably narrowing down your search to a couple different schools and a couple different options that you have. So we want to make sure that we're giving you as much information as we can, but also answering all of your questions. So as you're floating through the day today and as we're going through the event, if you do have any questions, feel free, file them, send them right through the chat box. I know all of us are pretty much comfortable with Zoom at this point, but just reminder, just keep yourself muted so we can hear everybody that's speaking. And if you have any questions, just send them in the chat. I'll be keeping my eye on it and being able to kind of monitor the waiting room if anybody else is coming in a little bit later. But why don't we get things started and we'll move things right over. I'm going to hand you off now over to the Dean of the College of Business, and that is Dr. Mark Frascatore. So Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kyle. Kyle, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay?
Sure can.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Mark Frascatore. I'm the Dean of the College of Business here at Niagara University. And first of all, thank you for joining us today. It's really a shame that we couldn't have some of you in person. We were all prepared to do that. We saw the weather forecast and we decided it's probably best that we not do that, even though it's beautiful and clear and sunny up here in Lewiston. But I know that down in Buffalo, where I came in from today, it's not so good. So we thought it best that we do it virtually today. Hopefully in the future, we are able to do some in-person ones and you'll have a chance to visit a beautiful campus here. It really is a lovely area. So again, welcome. Today we wanted to try a format that we wanted to kind of put you in the position of being a student here at Niagara University. So what we're doing is we have invited some professors from each of our areas to talk a little bit, and each of them has brought a student with them to kind of give a student perspective on things here. So we're calling this the Business 101 Open House, where you're going to see the actual professors that you have if you come in to Niagara University. You might get a bit of the material. You might see some of the things that you will learn while you're here. So it really is sort of an academic open house in a way. I'll talk a little bit about the College of Business before we turn it over to the professors. College of Business is accredited by AACSB, and what that means is that we have a stamp of approval by the highest accrediting body in the world. Fewer than 5% of colleges of business have this accreditation. What that means is that they come and audit our programs and make sure that we do what we say we're doing. And so we've been accredited since the year 2001. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have cutting edge curricula. We have faculty who are both practitioners and teachers. So our faculty most of them have been in industry before. They still have industry connections here. And not only are they practitioners and teachers, but they are scholars and also mentors. And our faculty will help guide you as you look for your career choices through your education here. We have majors in the areas of accounting with a minor in accounting fraud, management with concentrations in international management, human resource management, and supply chain management, finance, economics, and marketing with a concentration in food marketing and consumer packaged goods. So at this point, what I'll do, I don't want to talk too long. I want to turn it over to our faculty members who are really the nuts and bolts of what we do here. So I'll start with the marketing faculty member, Dr. Sean.
You don't remember my name?
Sean Daly, and his student, Makai. Sorry, I got nervous there for a second. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Daly.
Okay, thank you, Dr. whatever your name is. So my name is Sean Daly, like the dean said, the student with me, Makai Bristol. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that we do in the marketing department. And so to play off of what the dean just said a couple seconds ago about us being, the faculty being practitioners as well as scholars. I have a bachelor's and a master's in chemical engineering. I worked in the chemical industry for 10 years. And then I was the dean before Dr. Frascator was. So I was a practicing academic manager. And so what that means is that everything I do in the classroom, I do on the basis of what I've done for now a couple decades of hiring entry-level marketing analysts, entry-level marketing practitioners. So that's my model. So we'll demonstrate it here or talk about some of the things that we do in class. And Makai, we've had class together. So I'd like to divide this into two categories, the what we call the curricular in the classroom, and then the co-curricular, that is the things that we do outside the classroom that are allied and build on what we do. So first, in the classroom, basically what I do is two things. One is sort of, I'll call it traditional, but the case analysis. So we take the material in the textbook, run through it together as the big group, you know, that we process the material as the group, and then the students go on their own and write about the cases. The other half that we do is simulation. So the students go into teams and make the decisions, all the pricing and advertising, promotion, and all the decisions for their virtual team. And then I meet them as a supervisor every week, and we just have a business meeting just as I would have done at any time in my career as a supervisor or their boss or their boss's boss. So that's sort of in the classroom. I don't know, any story you want to tell for any of those pieces?
So in classroom, I feel like there's a lot of real world experience. So nothing we do is like big, everything is real industry driven. I did simulation with Dr. Daly last semester. So coming in dressing like I'm a business, like I'm in a business profession, working with real data, talking in meetings, and just I like group work personally. So I love the fact that in Niagara I could work within teams, work in groups, and just get like a more cultural background and just hearing what other people have to say when we work within groups. But other than that, I like the fact that we work for a lot of industries, so nothing that we do is really just made up. It's a lot of here's what we do at Rich Products, here's what we do at local companies. And I know a lot of professors and faculty members have experience and still have connections in the business world. So some of the classwork that we're given is straight projects that's currently happening within some of the companies.
Yeah, what Makai is talking about is that several of our faculty members put out calls to their industry partners and look for actual consulting projects. They tend to be sort of mission vision statement kinds of things, do market research, call it management consultancy. So they'll give big picture kinds of projects to groups of students, and I give them a chance to do some very, very real world things because they're solving actual problems in business. So the other half, like I said, that was what we do in the classroom. I'd like to talk for a minute about what we do outside the classroom. And so that would really, particularly in the marketing department, that would be two things. One is the students engage a number of different competitions during the year. So these are case competitions, The one that's been running the longest, Clorox Corporation, comes to Niagara University. They only do a couple places around the country, around North America. And for 36 hours, they watched Niagara University. Think of it as a 36-hour job interview. So the people from Burt's Bees and 409 and all the different brands within the Clorox umbrella watch the students. I think you've done that. Any Clorox comments?
Yeah, so I did the cross competition twice. I think in 2 years in a row. My first year was on campus, so I got to work with classmates, and I didn't know Clorox had so much. Clorox is like a big corporation; they have the brands under it, so they had Kingsford Charcoal, Burt's Bees, and like the Clorox brand itself with bleach. And it was actually it was a fun time for me. I got to work with classmates, apply what I learned in class to the work that I did, and I worked with executives, so it wasn't like you're working with someone that's entry level at Clorox, so you're not working with like a specific department, you're working with everybody. So it's people that hold high positions, and it was honestly one of the best things I did on campus. You get to really college doing classes. And then the second year I did it, it was with Burt's Bees, the Burt's Bees team. So it just innovated. What we had to do is innovate a product, and then me as a marketing major, how would I market it to consumers? Who am I marketing to? What's my demographics? How can I support my product, and why would it be successful in the real world? And it was fun. And with the second year, it was on Zoom due to COVID, but I like that experience even more because we got to work with students from different schools. I was working with kids from University of Chicago, University of Cincinnati, and it was a good experience. So I definitely recommend partaking in opportunities like that, because it's real executives at the end of it. You do get interviews, some internships. So I have a couple classmates that were accepted into internships. And it's not only Clorox, but we do have some other competitions too. Currently, I'm in the National Grocers Association competition. So it's now starting off, but we're working with like grocery food chains and recognized brands, and basically we're handed a product, and we basically innovating, looking at data, and supporting whatever our case is.
Yeah. So to speak to the two things that, the success our students have had in this. So the National Grocer Association, last year, the Niagara University team came in second out of 16 teams. That's, teams from all over the country, all over North America. So yeah, they lost in the finals, but they defeated in the semifinals the Niagara University Team B, the 4-time in a row reigning champion, and so that was like a gigantic upset. Yeah. As for the Clorox, I point out that what the corporation does is, like I said, they use these things as day-and-a-half long interviews. So they hire from these extended times that they have with our students. So last year's person who went to work for them, so I guess it was Olivia Copeland, was rated #1 in the nation among the entry-level analysts hired in this, and I don't know the total number. I'm going to guess it's 20 or 25. So they really do like our graduates. So sort of as a summary then for the marketing department, like I said, there's classroom activities that you've heard us talk about, having to use data, having to use real data, having to analyze, present, talk, interact. I think that's one of the important things we do here at NU, is spend a lot of time working with students in 2s and 3s and 4s, as well as the larger group of 15 or 20 in the classroom. And then, yeah, the outside things. I didn't even say, we have really strong corporate backers who send our students. This is your free travel opportunity. So I don't know, where have you gone anywhere on somebody else's dollar?
For me, no, because I stayed abroad.
Oh,
The
okay.
semester I left, I think the students went to San Francisco,
Orlando,
Orlando.
yeah.
I know
New Orleans, New Orleans. So yes, so this is, yes, they go to shows, they go to trade shows, they go to all kinds of organizations. But like I said, it's really great. They interact with the professionals and the students don't have to pay a dime to do it. So come to NU, come to the College of Business, the marketing department. I think the students have a very productive, interesting, and enjoyable time.
I love it.
Okay, well, so our next after the marketing department is going to be the economics department. And we have a professor here. His name is Craig Tiedemann, and so he'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Sean. So as Sean said, I'm Dr. Craig Tiedemann. I'm representing the Economics and Finance Department. I think he actually did a pretty good job at marketing his framing for how he wants to talk about his department and the different unique opportunities that you have if you come to NU and study either economics and finance in terms of breaking it up between what you could expect in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So I mean, he must be pretty good at his area of expertise in marketing. He sold me on that. Anyway, besides myself, Joseph Tricarco is also here. So Joseph is was a student of mine last spring semester. He was one of my advisees. He's certainly one of our excellent star students here. Just generally in the College of Business, but also here in the Department of Economics and Finance. And I'm going to especially rely on him to talk about some of the unique opportunities, even in the finance side, even though he's an economics major himself. So let's start out with thinking about the classroom. So the first thing I would say is that when I'm approaching my classes, whether it be many of you, if you choose to come here, you might see me in your first year together, your first year at NU, since I teach a lot of the principles of microeconomic and macroeconomic courses. And so while we'll learn a lot of theories and concepts from those classes, I often try to bring real world stories and examples into the discussion, right? To see how this theory actually applies in practice and how it actually can be useful for you in trying to understand the world around us. I see, for instance, even though Joseph is our representative, Victoria is another student here, current NU student, and she's been in both my principles of micro and my principles of macroeconomics class. So she can kind of nod ahead if she sees this in practice. So this last year, for instance, has been given us a lot of opportunities to be seeing, how can we look at the pandemic? How can we understand not only, the pandemic from the health side, but also from the economic side? How can we use, the concepts and, the ideas that we're developing in class to understand, why is there a vaccine shortage, for instance, right? Why are housing prices going up, right? We can see but by seeing how these things apply to the real world, it can be very useful. You can see the value of taking economics, courses in economics. Similarly with Joseph, he was in my labor economics class last year, right when the pandemic was starting up. And so, we kind of pivoted and started talking, turning towards material that could be useful. To understanding what's going on or how the pandemic is affecting our daily lives. So we spent a bunch of time talking about unemployment and thinking about unemployment insurance programs and the different implications of those. So that's one thing is I'm often trying to take like real world examples and bringing them into the classroom. Alongside that, we also try to spend some time, especially like in some of my upper division courses like labor econ, to see, how can we tie in our Catholic and Vincentian mission and identity here at Niagara? How can that maybe be something useful for thinking about an ethical approach to business? So that's something else that we do alongside your general business curriculum or an economics curriculum. Outside of that, I would say another big component of when I'm teaching my courses, or most of the courses in the economics and finance department, is the fact that I often focus in on individual, specific, student-driven projects and activities that are going to be interesting to the student. Often, some of my courses on econometrics are based on the student's career goals. And what this ends up being is, like the student basically is able to choose a topic and is working on that topic. And then often we're meeting consistently throughout the semester. And so so one of the things that I pride our department on is the fact that we work a lot one-on-one with students. And I know, for instance, that Joseph, when he was developing his labor economics project last year, we probably met several times, especially like after COVID set in, to help him develop his idea, and he created a great project. And so I don't know if Joseph wants to talk a little bit about his experiences, say in labor economics, or in the economics and finance classes he's been taking here at NU so far.
Yeah, so specifically in that labor and economics class, I think that was kind of the perfect class that kind of showed one of the reasons that I ended up choosing NU when I was younger, or when I was choosing colleges, was that in that class there were only 7 people in the class, which the small student to faculty ratio was really a big factor for me in wanting to choose a college, because I had a lot of friends who went to UB or Syracuse or RIT, and they really didn't have that. So at Niagara, when I was in this class and we had this big project at the end of the year where we had to do research into we got to choose any labor economic topic that we wanted. The fact that we were able to not only be doing the research, it wasn't just like, oh, go do your research, and then all right, whatever you come back with. Professor Tiedemann was able to meet with each of us for substantial amounts of time to talk with us about our projects so that we could really make sure that we were going in the right direction, which is kind of why you kind of hear a lot of employers, I think a lot of my friends have heard a lot of employers tell them Niagara students are known for being really good at doing research and presenting. I really think that that's a big reason why, is because the professors like Professor Tiedemann, and in that class was really able to spend a substantial amount of time going over what you really need to look for when you're doing your research and stuff like that, and the small class size, so you could really become a really good presenter.
No, definitely, and I'm really glad that Joseph brought up presentation skills. I think one of the things, whether it be the course he's talking about, or I'm often teaching these courses on econometrics, where you apply some data analysis to answer certain types of questions, whether they be in different realms of business or other areas in general. And often, my main focus when we're teaching these courses is how can we apply these tools in the future? How can you use those to sell yourself to an employer, to be useful in a career setting? And actually, it's really heartening to hear examples of students afterwards coming back and saying how those were useful, whether it be using some of the econometric models they developed in my class, in their job setting going forward afterwards, talking to some of our students that are economic students that are currently pursuing additional education afterwards, and talking about how they felt they were better prepared than most of the other students going on for an economics master's program at UB or another setting. And so again, I think that's something that we pride ourselves on, is that either myself or the other members of the economics and finance department, that we're going to be present and available to help students like yourself if you come and join us here at NU next year, in terms of being able to master these tools, that we're going to be helping you and being able to gain these tools and then applying them on into the future. I think kind of switching then to extracurriculars or other things outside the classroom, I think it'd be great for Joseph in a second to talk about some of his activities he's had with the NU Finance Club. I know so far I've been talking a bunch about economics since I'm an economist myself, but the other part of our department is focused in on finance, and so a lot of the finance side of our department has a lot of really cool projects, really cool extracurricular activities that they're working on, and create a lot of unique experiences for students like Joseph with the Finance Club. But beforehand, I know that before that, I can say at least on the econ side, this neat new opportunity that we're going to be starting presumably next year is the Fed Challenge. And so the idea would be that students like yourself, if you're interested in economics or just generally, even if you're not a major, presumably you'd be able to like work together with faculty advisors and be playing the role of the Federal Reserve Bank. And so you'd be looking at the area of monetary policy, figuring out how can I use real world data to give recommendations, just like the Fed does currently. It's certainly a really unique, fun activity that can be useful for, again, applying what you're learning in the classroom to practice. But I'd love to have Joseph talk a little bit about his experiences with the Finance Club, and especially like his investment activities with the Niagara Fund.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely at Niagara was someone who really wanted to be able to do it all and stuff like that. And so at Niagara University, I was able to so thinking back to so now I'm a senior. So as a sophomore, I got involved with Professor Hutton, who's in charge of this class. He runs this class where it's a grad class, and they all basically act as a hedge fund manager, and they decide companies. They do research and analyze companies to invest in. And so as a sophomore, though, I had taken a class with Hutton, and at the end of the class, Professor Hutton asked me to be the chief investment officer for the Finance Club. So in that role, he sent me all of the information stuff, the information and data of all the companies that this class decided to invest in. And that involved about $320,000 worth of assets actually from the school's endowment fund. And so in that, I was basically in charge of doing research for $320,000 worth of funds, where over the summer, going from sophomore to junior year, I was doing research into companies that the grad students had done research on. And so going into that, then the next year, I was actually put on a team with grad students to compete, because there's a CFA International Challenge where we will have a team. It's about 5 students, and we analyze a company and then we do a whole research paper where it's, about 20 pages worth of research and data and real numbers. And it's really the stuff that you'll actually be doing when you graduate from college. And it's a report that Hutton said, people will pay $1 million for like what we put together. And so it's really the stuff that you'll be doing if you ever work with a hedge fund manager in the future, you're trying to get into investments. And so beyond that, we were working day and night, about 12 hours a day sometimes, putting together this research paper with the grad students who were had been working in the field, and they even said, like, this is exactly what we're doing, like, in our jobs. And going into that, and then we went into a competition where we actually presented against Clarkson, against in past years it had been Harvard, who didn't show up this year because we beat them usually, but that's not probably why they didn't come. But we had been competing against these big schools, is what I'm saying. And so that really provided the opportunity to be put in front of in the situation that you'll be in the real world, and giving you real world experience.
And I think, like, just to end our discussion, thinking about the economics and finance department, is that there's really a wide range of career opportunities that students that successfully complete either the economics or finance major can pursue and thrive in after their time here at Niagara. So for instance, we have people that go on for additional study, but a lot of people end up like working in the finance area, whether that be locally or going elsewhere. And we also have a lot of people such as Joseph who end up pursuing a future as a lawyer. And in fact, I know Joseph has actually received some great news that he's gotten some great offers so far. So we're excited to see his success and where he'll go into the future. Hopefully, hearing back and that he's continuing to do well. And so that's one of the unique things about the economics and finance majors, is the fact that, again, there's lots of different opportunities that you have, whether that be here during your time on Mount Eagle Ridge or afterwards. So thank you, Joseph, so much for helping out today and talking about his experiences. And I think next we'll turn it over to Dr. Ann Renzel in the management department.
Thank you, Craig. So I'm the representative from management, and what I decided to do today is bring along with me Sarah, who is she's let's see, first of all, I'm her advisor. She has been in my class with me, and she has also helped me with the NUB, which is the opportunity for where we put our incoming freshmen in the class. So she's been my helper all the way along. And when I presented to her the question, I said, okay, Sarah, we need to present something that will encourage people to consider management as an opportunity, to study and have some good value as they go through school. And she said, well, you presented a really interesting case study when we were in class last semester. So I decided to, yeah, that's a good opportunity, because in the management department, we have so many different legs. For me to sit and go through all the different legs, it's really difficult. So I put together a short presentation, and my comment is I can't share my screen, so I won't share my screen. Put together a real quick presentation, and it has to do with a company called Xera. So Sarah, what do you remember about Xera when we were talking about it in class?
First of all, hi everyone. It's nice to see you all here. Something that I remember about Xera was just the fact that we were talking about a real life company. First of all, really engaged me because it does help you bring all the principles that you've learned into real life. So that's one thing that's really helpful. And just like you've heard from all the other professors and students, that's something you're going to get at Niagara. But we learned a lot about how Xera uses very unique principles of management. They use RFID, which you'll hear Dr. Renzel talking about, which is a unique technology that they use to track things throughout their store that has stuff to do with product placement as well. And then how they run their business in terms of kind of the scarcity of their product. So they kind of bring things in every couple of weeks. So at a lot of bigger, high-end stores, you'll see things last for a while, but at Xera, they pretty much just bring in what they do, and then customers will buy it on the spot because they know it's not going to last as long as you would see it at a bigger store. So as she kind of goes through the presentation, you'll see a lot of very unique things that Xera does, and that has a lot to do with their management.
Great. So what I figured was to give you an idea about how we conduct a class or handle a class in a management department. We usually use PowerPoint. So of course I had to use PowerPoint today, but nobody else did, but I put one together. But I named it Fast Fashion Counterintuitive Strategy, which in essence is what you're going to end up with in a management sense, and then Savvy Technology. So okay, so real quick, a little bit going on here. I got another slide. So if we look at a company like Xera, we're looking at the fact that it's technology enabled. It has minimal advertising. It's virtually no discounting that Xera does. Minimal or no production outsourcing. And it's vertically integrated. All of these are very critical ideas when you're thinking about managing an organization, managing a company. Xera is particularly interesting because it's in the high fashion industry. When we talk about vertical integration, this is something we cover in our supply chain and in our operations classes. But what it is the fact that this company doesn't outsource. It basically makes its own fabric. It dyes its own fabric so it can be more agile. It does in-house manufacturing. It handles its own logistics. So having an idea having an opportunity to understand how this all works, I think is really important for any student, especially one who perhaps is considering pursuing management. What it does is it allows us, or allows Xera, to compete in a more effective fashion. For example, most fashion stores are declining. We see Macy's closing. We see the fact that Nordstrom is having trouble. We see all these problems in the real world right now, but Xera is expanding because of their capability to have this incredibly unique way that they compete and handle the business. They provide fashionable garments. Yes, normally fashionable garments are very expensive. Xera has come up with a way to provide them at a lower price. So when we're looking at a business model, we want to be really sure that we can understand this pricing situation. Traditional stores receive new stock once or twice a season. Zara competes, they provide their stock twice a week. Think about the differences. So when we're talking in our classes about how to apply the concepts that we're learning, I use case studies frequently in order to reinforce them. And continuing on with Zara, traditional store events are common. They reduce profits per item. In a traditional store at Zara, they usually don't have any product left to sell at a reduced price. So they get a much higher revenue stream coming off of the products that they do produce. There you're bringing in your ideas of accounting, you're bringing in your ideas that are coming from the other disciplines. The results, I said higher margins, fewer product markdowns, fewer write-offs, faster inventory turnover, reduced risk. So Zara is in a very enviable position that they can decide, maybe this season we're going to put out a fuchsia colored skirt. Let's see if it's going to sell. If it doesn't, they don't invest a tremendous amount, so they can pull it back without much in the way of any type of risk. So the way they've structured their company and managed their company is critically important. So you can see already at this point in time, I've been talking a little bit about strategy. I've been talking a little bit about supply chain. I've been talking a little bit about the technology that's running underneath. So the technology is key. So Sarah, do you happen to remember, what did we talk about the RFID chips for this company?
We talked about, are you asking what I remember or when did we?
Yeah, do you remember what we talked about, how they use the chips?
Yeah, so they're able to use the RFID chips to track where it's being taken in the store, where it's being the most noticed. So that kind of has to do with product placement as well. Where are people picking up the clothes the most, or where is it being best placed in the store? And then kind of, as you can already see in the bullets, what's being left behind after try on, what's actually being taken. So they can kind of track what's most popular, what's least popular, where they should put it.
So from a management point of view, we're now embedding the use of technology and the idea that technology can now help a larger firm be more efficient and more effective in how they function. We also have the typical point of sale system where the items are sold, and which, when they're sold, how they're sold, the typical management activities that we want to do in an organization. This turns into what we call a data-informed situation. Which products will be used in each different region is an important thing. These are based on sales and interest results. So what do? The inventory is different at each store. So if you walk into a store in Toronto, it's different than what you're going to find in a store in New York as compared to Spain. They've tailored this because of their efficiencies with how their firm runs, because of their overall management capabilities. They don't guess. They have people on the sales floor asking questions of the customers as they're out there. They have their input, then they take this input back, and then they, in turn, tailor the product. From an employee compensation, which is another critical area in business, and it focuses on our HR section in our management program. The employee compensation for Zara, up to 70% of it can be tied to store performance. So when it comes to understanding how to include and how to manage your workforce, critically important in the management area, is they have perfected this with performance. They have a way to compensate for people very effectively in this area. So what this results in is performance. We're looking at management, whether it is in our integrative area, our supply chain area, our HR area, or any of the other smaller sectors of business, you're always worried about performance. So the performance that Zara is able to get with their innovative techniques is they have a product idea from the point it appears to when it goes onto the rack is 15 days. The industry standard for this is 6 to 9 months. So their efficiencies because of how they're applying the tools is really apparent in this particular metric. They optimize their inventory, so they have better placement, better ability to get to their customers, and they also have a warehouse to store distribution that they maintain themselves. Other metrics, increased customer visit frequency. Average customer visits at Zara are 17 times a year. Because they turn their inventory so quickly, you keep having to go back more and more to see what they have new. Industry standard is 3 times a year. Again, almost more than 5 times more frequently you get your customers to return. From a marketing point of view, from a management point of view, from a revenue point of view, these are incredibly important numbers. They reduce their markdowns. 85% of Zara's products are sold at full price. Again, a metric, something that we're looking to measure. This is critically important because for every item they sell, they get more value in. Industry average is that markdowns are 50 to 70%. JCPenney sells only 1% of all their products at full price. So these are the differences. So when Dr. Daly talks about looking at the numbers, when Dr. Tiedemann starts talking about, we have to look at the numbers with regard to how our businesses are running. And that's critical in the management area. They also have minimal inventory remains for any product. So from a green perspective, they don't have a lot of material that they have to get rid of. They don't have to worry about selling or trying to get rid of the winter coats that they overproduce and either sell them or basically just destroy them. They don't have them to worry about. They don't have to pay for that. So again, another revenue, now that's another opportunity that you'll have to absorb an expense. So when we're thinking about looking at a business, these things I think are kind of critically important. So management as a discipline generally involves planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. These are the general areas we think about. In our management program, these are embedded across all of our concentrations. If you think about how all these flow through Sarah, I think perhaps you're getting a sense of, well, what we do in our classrooms. In this particular case, and I'm doing a case study, but it's also how we teach you how to think, how to start being critically focused on the metrics and on how a business runs and how a business functions. So this short presentation just hopefully gives you just a little bit of a sense about what we do in our classrooms and how we try to involve not just management, but we have a broader view across many of the other disciplines that we're involved in. So, next year. So that's a quick overview, just a quick idea about how management works in all the different dimensions. So Sarah, what do you do outside of class when it comes to things that are involved with the management department?
So I'd say I'm a little bit of a unique business student because I'm actually going into higher education next year. However, with that being said, I'm pretty involved on campus. Kelly put down in the chat a list of my involvements. But what's really unique about that is that I've learned how business comes into play in all those areas. So I recently had graduate school interviews, and when I was telling them that I'm a business major, they were telling me how business plays into that field of work as well. So wherever you end up working, business is going to come into play. So, I'm a community advisor in the dorms. I'm vice president of a club on campus. I'm in the Student Government Association. I'm on the Academic Senate. So all those things I use, leadership skills and all these different pieces of management as well. So pretty much rest assured, I'm going to be using business for the rest of my life, regardless of where I go.
For sure. And also to round out the discussion with regard to what's available, in the management area, we have a supply chain concentration where we have a supply chain club. We also run we call a CEO club, which is more business oriented. And at times we have run entrepreneurship competitions and those types of activities. We are a larger department with multi dimensions. So I think you'll find that anything that you're interested in pursuing within management is available, or you can branch out. Many of our management students end up in the marketing club. We have several of them in the finance club. So just because you're in a particular major within our college, it doesn't mean you have to stay with just the clubs and activities. You go across the college because we're very inclusive that way, so that our students get the absolute best opportunities they can in order to enjoy their time and learn the most they can over here at Niagara. With that, I'll say, Dr. Burke, you can talk about accounting.
All right. Thanks, Ann. So I am the only professor that stayed home today, and I thought I would do it so you could see my face. But then I realized when I did that, I had to shave this morning. So you get a clean shave face at least for a change. That's the one great thing about masks. It keeps you warm in the winter and you don't have to shave. So I have Abigail Hillary here with me as well, my student who came to campus and is up there on screen with us. So we're going to work together here and talk to you a bit about accounting. I'm going to focus on my classes and kind of what we do in my class that students find engaging and fun. But first, just to kind of break that idea of what everyone's nervous or scared or, thinks accounting may not be for them. And obviously accounting isn't for everyone, just like every major is, you have to pick the right major for yourself. But one thing to think about when it comes to accounting, it's not sitting in a cubicle, working with numbers, crunching data, doing taxes. It is a lot more than that. And I didn't start in accounting originally, but I learned that the way I think and the way I structure things in my mind and the way I like to do puzzles and think outside the box, it fit with the accounting world. And so if you're somebody that not necessarily is into math necessarily, but likes to kind of maneuver numbers around and likes puzzles and I love escape rooms. I think they're so cool to go to an escape room and figure out the little tricks and clues and puzzles that they have. If you're someone that likes that kind of thing, accounting is that. That's what we do all the time. We figure things out and we make decisions based on the information we're given. And sometimes we're given clear information and sometimes it's a little cloudy and we have to clean it up and make decisions. So it's not all about just, being a nerd sitting in a cubicle. That's one thing I never wanted to do. So saying that, I'll tell you a bit about my classes, then Abby can help out because she has been in, I believe you've been in 4 of my classes. Maybe not, but I think it was 4 altogether. So to start off with, and I'll talk about the class I'm teaching right now, management accounting. So it's a first year class that all business majors have to take. And I have, marketing, finance, accounting, all those students in my class, and it's relevant for all of them because what we're teaching them at that level is providing them management accounting tools. So these tools allow them to look at the cost of a company. So a lot of what the professors that we've seen, like Professor Daly was talking about with marketing, they learn some tools in accounting with us that help them making those decisions. Okay. And so in management class, right now we're teaching them some of the basic accounting tools so they can kind of see how costs behave and how costs fluctuate when we make a decision and what changes and how we can cut costs. But then eventually, after about a month into the semester, we start playing this simulation game. It's called Globus Simulation, and it's really cool. A lot of students find that, if I see a student a couple years after I've taught the class, that's all they remember from the class is that. And what the simulation is we're basically selling cameras and GoPros, okay? And you basically have this system that you can change the price structure, you can change the advertising, you can change the features of the camera to what you want. So you can sell a real high-end camera and then try to sell that on the market, or you can sell a real low, cheap camera that maybe would sell at Walmart, but you're going to sell a ton of them, right? And then you can set up how you want to discount it, how you want to advertise it. And so there's all these different manipulations and variables that you can change. But then what it is you're working with a couple classmates, a team, you're creating your company and you compete against the rest of the class. And we run the simulation once a week and we see how your company did compared to all these other camera companies out there. And you try to improve your market share, and there's different metrics that we measure it on. It's not just all market share, but it's really cool. The students really like competing against each other, and it's really real world experience. I know Abby did this. So Abby, do you have any comments or anything you want to say about the experience with Globus?
Yeah, so freshman year we got put into groups of 2 or 3, and then every week we had to, like Professor Bird said, manipulate our camera and try to design it in ways that we think would sell the best. And it was really cool to see, like, every week in class he would put on the board and see like who sold the most and who was doing the worst, and then you had to try to change what you were doing to try and get to the top of the leaderboard and have the best market share.
Yeah, and so it's really cool. It's a way to use the stuff we've been teaching in class. Every week I can then touch on that, be like, hey, remember when we talked about this, we were talking about fixed costs. Well, here's a fixed cost that maybe you can, cut because it's not really helping you, or maybe we can increase it, a little advertising or marketing costs, and that may improve our sales. And so the students really, it helps them to realize what we're talking about in class and kind of transfer it to the real world as closely as possible. So that's a real cool thing we do freshman year with the students. And then, so I teach freshman courses, financial accounting and managerial accounting, and then I teach tax as well. And tax is one of those topics that a lot of people are like, oh, that's just for accountants. Well, not really, because everyone needs to do their taxes eventually. So it is important for every student to understand how to do their taxes. I mostly get accounting students, but I do get the rare other students stepping into our class for that experience. And what we do in tax class to try to bring that real world in as well is I'm not just preparing them to be a CPA to do other people's taxes. I'm really introducing them, having them understand how taxes work in general, so they can kind of manage their own life as well. And they can think about buying a home and what happens when we have children and all that stuff that goes into your taxes. And then when you get your first job and you have to kind of plan on how much for retirement and how much you need to withhold and stuff like that, just so they have that mindset. So when they get out of school, they've kind of experienced it a bit. And so the way we do that is by having them do actual tax returns. So we have software through the IRS. It's TaxSlayer, which is a popular, software for personal taxes anyway, but we have access to that they can, it's like a practice lab, what it's called, and they can go in there and do these scenarios or practice tax returns that we give them, so they can go home and try to do an actual tax return. And then we get back in class and we can compare the numbers to see how they did. And, a lot of times with taxes, not everyone's right on, because taxes sometimes aren't always black and white. There's gray areas. So people will be like, oh, I thought this counted, and we'll discuss that stuff in class. So Abby, I don't know if you want to touch on the taxes we did in class that you just had me actually, we just did this last fall, right?
So I took tax this fall, and each week we were assigned a tax return to do for homework, and it would mostly be for individuals. So we would be assigned a person, and there would be like paragraphs about them, and you'd have to put in all their income and figure out how to do tax returns. And I actually have an internship right now at Rich Products, and I'm in the tax department. So taking this class and having the internship hand in hand definitely taught me a lot about tax returns, because like Professor Burt said, every tax return is different, and it's important to learn about all the things that can be included on one.
Yeah, and the tax returns are different. And then when I talk about like enjoyment of puzzles, like when I was in school, I took tax, and I thought my professor, not to knock them, but they taught everything right out of the textbook. I never looked at a tax return before, and I was like, oh, this, like, all we did was memorize facts, and it was like, oh. And then I went in the real world and did some tax returns, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You're basically given information, you have to kind of figure out this puzzle. And like Abby said, everyone is different, and every year it changes for individuals. So it's always evolving, and it's always something new that pops up, and there's always something you have to research or look into. So it's kind of always making you think and stay on your toes. So it's one thing I enjoy about taxes is that idea of it's kind of this puzzle idea. From there, I teach another class. It's the VITA program, so VITA. And it's a program through the IRS that we run at Niagara University, and we've been doing it for 40 years. I haven't been doing it for 40 years. Professor Otto, who's still teaching with us, started it years ago, and he still actually does a lot of taxes for us. And it's an amazing program. It's through the IRS, and we offer tax services for the general public for free. And it's within the Niagara Falls community that we go down to Doris Jones Center in Niagara Falls. We help individuals down there, and we have them come to campus as well. We do their taxes here for them. And we get students from all over the university, not just tax students. We get social work majors because they want to work with the community. And so this is a way for them to get some experience as well. But a lot of our accounting students do it as well. And we do taxes. We have these individuals come in, we work in teams, and we do their taxes for them. And it's a real practical, real world experience for the students. In a couple ways. It's doing taxes, but it's also working with your community and doing this service. It's like, I started doing it 8 years ago, and I wouldn't stop. Like, I love it. Like, it's great to watch some of these people that we're helping out, especially in the last year. We had to shut down last March, and it was tough because we couldn't do their taxes. And I had to turn people away because there was no way we could technically do it. We weren't prepared to set up online to do their taxes. So we started helping some people in the fall, and then this spring we're set up now to be able to do it again, with protocols and safety in place. But it's going to be cool to be able to get back at it and do these taxes for these individuals. And I know Abby's definitely excited to get back into VITA. And what can you tell us a bit about your experience with VITA, Abby?
So last year was my first year doing VITA, so I would go once a week for like 3 hours a night, and I would usually be paired with a student who was in their second or third year of experience, and then we would sit at a desk and wait for individuals from the community to come, and they would bring their, like a typical form, like a W-2 from their employer, and then they'd give it to us, and we would input all their information to the website and end up doing their taxes for them for free.
Yeah, and it's a great way for students, like Abby said, like she was first year, so I'd team her up with somebody that has a little more experience, and then there'd be other students in the room that maybe were seniors, or even students that are graduated. I still have a lot that just come back because they want to help, they want to volunteer, and then they run, like, I don't show up to every clinic. They run the clinic at times because they have that much experience, and they're working. Some of them are taking their CPA exam, and they're working in the real world, and they're just coming back to help out, and it's great. It's a great way to get students a lot of experience with the real world. So that's my favorite thing. That's my favorite course to teach, I guess, at Niagara right now. So yeah, I would say when it comes to accounting, I'm not gonna lie, it's not for everyone, but it is for more people than they think. It's for people that have a more analytical mind, or like puzzles, like to think things through, like to organize numbers. And you don't have to be a math genius to do accounting. We don't do crazy formulas. We don't. I'm not great with math. I've been teaching grade 1 math to my 6-year-old for the last 5 months, and I'm learning some things about math. But it is about organizing the numbers and organizing information at times as well, not just numbers. So just give it a thought. All right, thanks. I'm not sure who I'm passing it on to now though, Kelly, so I'm sorry. Is there anyone after me?
Yep,
Oh,
I got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for what you said. And I just want to follow up on some observations that I had while watching all this. I hope that you notice how integrated our programs are. So the professors and students who spoke to you today did not correspond with each other really to organize this. They had their own thing. But each of them referred to other professors as they were talking. So in fact, Dr. Daly just told me that in marketing, he teaches accounting to marketing students, but Dr. Burt teaches accounting to marketing students. And you should know that every student in the College of Business takes courses in every discipline. There's a core of courses that all College of Business students take, which helps make them more well-rounded. There really is not another college at the university that does something like this. So we have this core of business students who then select their majors. Now, I want to point one other thing out. Watching this, I hope was exciting to you to see what opportunities there are, career-wise and education-wise. But I think it can also be a little bit intimidating because you see what these students have done and you think maybe, wow, I'm not sure if I can be doing that. The truth is you can. When you come on board here, every student is assigned a faculty advisor who helps mentor them. And also our assistant dean, Kelly Askbar, Kelly can give a little wave there. This is Kelly. Kelly handles all student affairs within the College of Business, and the students' advisors and Kelly help guide you to choose a major, what's right for you. If you're not sure what major you want, if you know you just think I want business, but I'm not really sure, I would say great. In fact, I would encourage you not to choose a major when you come in. Be a business student, take some courses, talk to faculty, get engaged in clubs, do some activities, see what you like. So it's not uncommon. I'll pick on accounting here a little bit, but to echo some things that Dr. Burt said, accounting is the major that most students switch out of after the first year, but then it's the major that most other students switch into because students learn what accounting really is about. So some students who go in and say, I want to do high-level mathematics, and so I'll choose accounting. That's not what accounting is. You have other students who say, I really don't like mathematics, so I won't take accounting. But then they realize, oh, it's not about mathematics, so I think that is what I want to do. So my point is, come in as a business student, take your courses, see what you like, and go from there, and work in concert with your advisor and Kelly Aspar to figure out what it is you want. So I'll add, I'll sum up with it. We have just to show our results, a 97% placement rate, which means that 97% of our students either have jobs or are in graduate school 6 months after graduation. In accounting, in fact, I would say it's even over 100% because all of our students get jobs and many of them have multiple offers. So it's a very effective, and that's our measure of our outcomes, and we're succeeding. So at this time, we're at an hour, so I want to give a few minutes for questions. So Kelly, do we have, or Kyle, do we have any questions in the chat box?
Doesn't look like we've had any questions pop in here right now, but
Okay.
I know sometimes everybody sits there and they're a little nervous to ask questions, so feel free, fire away. We'd be happy to answer.
You can also unmute yourself and ask a question verbally if you like. So I know that we've given you a lot of information, so maybe all your questions have been answered, but I'll just give a moment to see if anybody has any.
Or we can type something in. I've been chatting the whole time.
Oh, Kelly's been, yeah, Kelly, I see Kelly's been following up with,
I've been interjecting.
yeah. Okay.
Well, I have one quick thing to add. I know we've been in here. As I mentioned, I was in admissions, but I'm also an alumni of Niagara. I'm not an alumni of the business program, but as I've been sitting through here and getting all this information, I have a ton of friends that have graduated through Niagara, specifically a ton that are accounting. And as I was sitting here, I sent them a Snapchat of us on the event, and you should just hear them going off. Professor Burt, they are just blowing you up right now. They're like, that guy's the GOAT. He is awesome. Best professor we've ever had. So I'm just sitting here laughing as we're going through this. So I appreciate all of you being able to jump in here today. It was Al Intihar and Adriana Rossi and a couple other of them in there. So I really, it's just kind of real time feedback as we're going through here. So I know.
Well, tell Miles said hi.
Yeah, absolutely, I will, for sure. So as we're waiting for some questions, feel free, fire away. I'll just, at least from the admissions perspective, if any of you have any questions whatsoever, I know today was a very specific focus on business and on your major and on your academics and the opportunities that you can have here as you come in with your academics. If there's anything else additionally that you have any questions with on top of academics, every single professor in here and everybody part of the business department, all of these students would be more than willing to chat with you via email. If you want to set up more virtual visits, feel free. But I also wanted to let you know we are, except for the snow today, but we are open for campus visitors. So if you have been to campus already and would like to come back, if you have yet to visit campus and you just want to take a nice campus tour and just get a feel for what it's like, we have a ton of opportunities to visit during the week, Monday through Friday. There's 3 tour times. We have a ton of Saturday tours over the next couple months. But on top of just campus tours, we have a ton of virtual and in-person events. So I encourage you to look at our website. It's just niagara.edu/visit, pretty simple. And you can click on a calendar and you can go through and see there's events specifically like this one that are focused on the majors. But then as we're getting close for seniors, there's accepted student events and opportunities specifically for accepted students to really kind of hone in. And we have these events. They're designed for you as we know you're you're still narrowing down your search. You maybe have top 5, a top 3, a top 2 schools that you're going through there. We want to just give you the opportunity to get as much information as you can to turn over every single stone. So if there's anything that you're missing, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to roll out the purple carpet for you and make sure that we can get you lined up with anybody that you need to talk to. And with that being said, even if it's financial aid, I know at this point, financial aid packages have been rolling out and you've been receiving them in the mail from all of the schools that you've applied to. So in admissions, we want to have an opportunity to speak with you about your financial aid package. We don't want to just assume everything looks great. We want to make sure, especially within the pandemic, a lot of things have happened and a lot of families' finances have changed. So we want to be able to have those discussions with you. So please feel free to reach out to us in admissions. Your specific admissions counselors are all listed on the website with the schools that we each work with. But we want to just make sure, and we are here for you. None of us have had to search for a college in a pandemic ever. So we recognize that this is a challenging time and things have been kind of, you've been blindfolded. You haven't been able to visit all these different campuses. So please let us know if there's anything that we can do to ultimately make your college search easier. We want to take as much stress off of you as possible. So feel free to reach out to us in there. Now, I'm chatting a long time because I was hoping that some other questions would pop in here and give you the opportunity to do so, but I haven't seen any other questions come in there. So, Dr. Frescatore, is there anything else you wanted to add in here?
I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank also our professors and our students who took the time on Saturday to come in and talk to all of you. And as Kyle said, please try to get an opportunity to visit campus. And I think you'll see it's a wonderful campus, it's beautiful. And I am happy to meet with anybody who comes on campus. And our faculty, if you want to speak to any particular faculty member or student that you saw here today, they're equally happy to talk to you if you want to come and have a look around. So with that, again, I'll say thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful Saturday and rest of the weekend, and go Bills.
Go Bills for sure. And I will transition. We do have a couple current students from admissions that are more than willing to go through a virtual tour. So if you're interested to be floating around, I have Kelsey calling in, one of our student co-directors of the campus tour. And she is more than willing to walk you around and take you on a quick virtual tour. I know we've been on here for an hour, but for those that are interested, be able to kind of just hear from some current students and have any other questions, Kelsey is a great resource to do so. So I will also add her in here. I just gotta find where her screen is. There she is.
Yes, hello everyone. Victoria and myself will take you through a couple of our big buildings that everyone wants to see, like the dining options, a residence hall, our recreation facilities. So anyone who wants to stay on is more than welcome to do that. But I'll let Victoria reintroduce herself before we get started.
Thank you, Kelsey. So hi, everyone. My name is Victoria. I am a freshman marketing major from Wheatfield, New York, which is about 15 minutes up the road from campus. So all these business professors kind of know who I am. I've had a few of them in my classes. A few things I'm involved in and around campus are NUMA, which is Niagara University's Marketing Association. I'm also a student assistant in the marketing department, and I'm also a counselor's assistant in the admissions office.
Awesome. So I will share my screen. So hopefully you can see some of our 3D campus looks. Is everyone seeing this? Good.
I think we're good. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I am a senior at Niagara now. I'm actually an education major. I'm not in business. But on campus, I work in residence life with Sarah. So I'm a community advisor in one of our freshman buildings, and I'm involved with campus ministry on campus. So everything you see on this virtual tour today, I'll put the link to it in the chat for you guys. So you can go back and watch it and go through all of the slides at a later time if you'd like to. So our first stop is our dining commons. So this is the Russell J. Salvatore Dining Commons. It was fully renovated with a new addition put on in the school year 2016 to 2017. So we're only in about our 4th full year with it in new operation. So some of the key points about our dining on campus. We have two main options. So the first option is going to be this dining commons. And this is what you would consider that all you can eat campus dining hall style. So you swipe in during regular business hours and you can take as much food as you'd like. Now, some big things going on with COVID, we are allowing students to do takeout options. So you can swipe in, get all your food packaged to go and eat somewhere else on campus if you don't want to eat in the more congregated area. We are also doing pre-selection for our dine-in students. So if you want to dine in with your roommate or another student, you just pre-select what time period you want to do that so that we can meet our capacity requirements. So we will be open from 7:30 in the morning during the week until 10 p.m. at night. And then we start for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays at 9:30 in the morning. And so with the exception of a few cleaning periods throughout the day, we do have food running all day for students in the dining commons. Victoria, is there anything that you love from the dining hall? Do you want to share like your favorite breakfast or something like that?
Well, like as a commuter student, I don't frequent the dining commons. I kind of frequent more towards galley. That's my key spot of hanging out. But when I go in with my friends, usually into the dining commons, that's a key spot for like if you want like your all-you-can-eat buffet style option. If you're looking to eat more food, that's definitely a good spot to hit up on campus.
Awesome. So we will move on to our second dining option on campus, and this is going to be located in our Gallagher Center. So a couple things to note about our Gallagher Center. Not only do they house our second food option, that food court, they also house most of our student life offices. So these are going to be things like campus ministry, which does a lot of faith programming and service opportunities on campus. This is going to be NUSCA, so our Student Government Association. It's going to be OMA, so the Office of Multicultural Affairs, who do various diversity and inclusion educational programs for our students. And then the Campus Activities Office. And it's out of the Campus Activities Office that you see most of those recreational programs that occur Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Lots of free food for students. In a normal year, we'll do bus trips into Buffalo, Toronto, some of the bigger cities south of us. And all of that will come out of our Campus Activities Office. On the second floor of the Gallagher Center is going to be our main basketball and volleyball arena. So this is where our D1 basketball, men's and women's, as well as women's volleyball teams will play. So right now our teams are playing, but there are no fans in the stadium, but they are live on ESPN, various ESPN channels, so our students can follow along with them there. And then, like Victoria mentioned, galley is also a big dining spot. So do you want to go through the food court options, Victoria?
Sure. So when you first walk into galley, you will notice there's a 7-Eleven convenience store style place called the Grove. That's where you can get all of your, like if you want to take out like drinks, ice cream, small sandwiches, wraps, kind of similar, like I said, to like a 7-Eleven. The next one right next to it is Galley Grill, which kind of houses your hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza logs, french fries, wraps, subs, all that kind of fried food that all of us teenagers love. And then right next to that, we have Poblanos, which is similar to like your Moe's, your Chipotle style burrito bowls, tacos, quesadillas. And then next to that, we have Bravo, which is a changing station weekly currently during the semester, where it'll be student voted. So currently this week we have a fancy mac and cheese bar, but each week they kind of rotate that out into a different food style for students to choose from. Around the corner on that side, we also have Subway, which is similar to a Subway that you would find anywhere in the city. And then right in the center of Galley, we have a Tim Hortons, which of course is key to this area with your coffee, donuts, tea, anything you can think of. But overall, just a lot of good food options inside of Galley. Anything you can think of, kind of just right in that key spot.
Awesome. So that's basically our Gallagher Center in a nutshell. We also do have a room in there called the multipurpose room. And so this is something that in a normal semester will get used for a variety of activities, everything from a blood drive to a featured speaker. And right now, one of the things that NU focused on was ensuring that our students can still have safely distanced in-person classes. So one of the ways that we have done that is taking these large spaces that we have that used to seat upwards of 80 or 100 people and turning them into classes for those 20 to 25 sized classes where students are sufficiently spaced, they're far enough from their professor, but they're still able to hear and use any assistive technology that's needed. Our next big stop on campus is going to be our residence halls. So this is a picture of the lounge from O'Shea Hall. So on campus, our freshmen will live in one of two residential options generally. There is a caveat to that, and so we'll get to that in a second. And those are going to be Seton and O'Shea. They're basically identical dorms. They're going to be that typical double room that you're used to when you hear about college. We've got communal bathrooms on the floor, a lounge on the floor. These are going to be the hub for all of your in-house programming. So Sarah and I and the CAs will run lots of free food programs. We'll do things like DIY sugar scrub nights. We'll do paint nights, paint a pumpkin, all sorts of arts and crafty mingling activities. And those are still going on in COVID. There'll be somewhat of a hybrid theme. There'll be a grab and go theme. So those are ways for students to still meet each other on the floor and really get connected with the students living with them. So as far as roommates go and finding a roommate, this is something that we'll really get into more as you get farther in the application cycle. But things to keep in mind are that you do have a choice of who your roommate is. You can request someone, or we'll go through and we'll pair you with someone that we think you'll fit well with based on some responses that you give us to certain questions. And so those are all things that we hand match in the Office of Residence Life, and we follow you with that all throughout the year. So on your freshman dorm, you're going to have two community advisors, and they stay with you for that first full year to really watch your transition, help you with wellness, get you connected with different resources on campus, help you find where your classes are for the first day, all of the things like that, to be that like big sister or big brother to you on campus when you first get started. Do you want to talk about the Kiernan Center, Victoria?
Sure. So this is the Kiernan Center. It's the gym on campus. Basically, it's a very simple system. If you ever want to go to the gym, you basically swipe your ID card and you're able to go in. It's completely free to students. There's a lot of options when it comes to exercising for students on campus. There's a lot of weight machines, cardio machines. In the fitness center, there are like aerobics and dance classes. There's a dance studio. It's where a lot of the dance classes are also taught. We have a pool, basketball court, just a very large space for students who would want to stay active in and around campus, kind of just staying active during their college life, because sometimes that's kind of a key struggle for some students. But that is definitely an open option for students. That's also where a lot of the club and intramural sports are housed and come out of. Club and intramural sports are open to all students. A lot of different options when it comes to that. Club sports are very similar to like your high school sports, where there's like 2 to 3 practices a week, and then there's a game on the weekends. Then your intramural sports are like your pickleball, your can jam, kind of like laid back sports that you're as an option for students as well. So the Kiernan Center is kind of just a key spot for students who want to stay active, kind of keep themselves healthy during their college life.
Awesome. Victoria hit all of our key points for us. One of the things to keep in mind is that, like, Victoria is a commuter and I'm a resident, but this facility is open to everyone because it's included in the fees that you pay to the university. So once you pay your tuition via financial aid or a payment or however you have that worked up, all of these services that we're going over today are completely included. So if you do decide that you want to, say, play club rugby, which is one of our popular club sports, you may have some dues involved with that. But any of our intramural sports, those pickleball, 3-on-3 basketball, those are all open to all of our students. Our last big stop for today will be Bisgrove. So I am a student of its neighbor academic complex. So I'm going to let Victoria take this one since this is your home in the business management marketing area.
Yes, absolutely. So this is kind of like my home, kind of like where I stay most of my time during campus. This is where a lot of my classes are held. Bisgrove is kind of like a very self-explanatory building. There's always a stock running inside the building, which I thought was kind of cool when I first visited campus. All of the professors' offices are located on the second and third floor of Bisgrove. And they're all required to have office hours, so you can always visit them at any time. If you're struggling in a class or have any questions about any of the certain chapters or anything that they're going over, that's definitely a key thing that students like to know. TAs don't teach in the class. It's always the professors that will be teaching in your classes, so you'll never have to worry about that necessarily someone else is teaching the class. The professor is right in on it with you. The professors will always know your name. The one thing that I always like to say to students is like, you never want to be late to class, or you never want to skip class, because they'll most likely know that it's you. They know you right by your name, right by your face, but during COVID, not necessarily by face. But Bisgrove is just like Kelsey said, it's split into two different pieces. The left side of it is Bisgrove Hall, which is home to the College of Business. And then the right side is the academic complex, which is housing the College of Education.
Awesome. So there is Bisgrove and campus in general in a nutshell. One thing I want to make sure I mention is that in that connecting portion to Bisgrove in the academic complex is something called the Impact Office. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard a little bit about the Impact Office today, but they're where the heart of our Vincentian mission is lived out, in its crossover between student life and volunteerism and that academic piece and professional development. So that's where you're going to see a lot of the clubs that Victoria and Sarah mentioned that they were connected with, doing a lot of their service is out of that Impact Office. So you guys are lucky, being business students, that it's just a quick walk past Tim Hortons right on over to that office anytime that you need them to get connected. But if you guys have any questions or any other buildings that you wanted to see that we didn't show, feel free to type them in the chat and I'd be happy to get those pulled up. All right, I guess we'll turn it back to you, Kyle.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you for being able to run through that. I know that, being able to kind of get out on campus and check things out, even though it is virtual, is a nice opportunity. So I haven't seen any other questions come back in, and it looks like we still have a couple families still in here, but other than that, I think that we worked through everything pretty good. I know I see Dr. Frascatore is still around, so if there is any other questions, feel free to send them our way, but I think other than that, we're good to go here. So yeah, he's giving me the thumbs up. Everybody else is giving the thumbs up. Thanks for running through the tour. I know it was short and sweet, but I think that's exactly what we needed. So other than that, enjoy, stay safe. I know it's snowing, stay healthy. And as Dr. Frascatore said, go Bills. I don't know who I'm rooting for tomorrow. All right, we'll see everybody later.
Have a good day.